have called Kona my home for 23 years, but I actually grew up on the east side of the island in Pahoa. Really a lot of little Pahoa fans here. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, yeah. I get it. It was just my mom and I, and our one extravagance was gas money. We would take long road trips around the island to a soundtrack of the Makaha Sons and Van Morrison, and I got to know and love every corner of this place we call home. Pahoa was a tough place for a teenage girl. I hear you. Yeah. I didn't have a conventional childhood. My mom taught me how to hotwire a car and drive stick when I was 11, in case I ever found myself in a position where I needed to escape. I grew up in the age of Dana Ireland and Sequoia Vargas. Sequoia was a classmate of mine that was raped and murdered, her body tossed into the ocean off of Red Road in Kalapana. Danger was the recurring theme of my adolescence. We were the Pahoa Daggers, for Pete's sake. Our mascot was a knife. I mean, who greenlights that? In my freshman year of high school, I joined the cross-country team. I never won any of the meets, but I consistently finished first out of my teammates. None of them are here tonight to dispute that. Running would become a big part of my life. It's how I experience a place. When we travel, I go for a run. I run all the time. These days, I have some pretty major commitments in my life, but there was a time when I had a lot of free time on my hands. I remember it fondly, but only vaguely. No children, no businesses, no board seats. We lived on Ali'i Drive, and I would go for a run out my front door almost daily. On my days off, I would go for a long run. And my favorite place to run was Pu'uhonua Road, the stretch between Honaunau Bay and Kealakekua Bay. I would park my car at Honaunau and run the one-lane road to Kealakekua Bay and back. And for the most part, there weren't a lot of cars, and you could really feel the mana down there, heavy vibe. Yeah. My husband Liam didn't like my going alone, but it's a special place, and I loved being down there. I did that maybe 2 times a week. That is until one day when I noticed a car driven by a single man pass me 3 or 4 times. Considering it a dump road, seeing a car twice was not strange, but this one felt different. On the last pass, when I was starting to feel a little uneasy, avoiding eye contact, he pulled up his car next to me and was exposing himself. I immediately turned away, yelled for him to get the hell away from me, but he kept his car alongside me, eventually cutting me off and making to get out of the car. I turned and ran Makai through the halekoa bushes, straight to the ocean, thrashing myself along the way, panicked and scared to death. I ran back to my car at a full sprint along the ocean. After that, I didn't really feel comfortable running down there any longer, and that was heartbreaking. I loved that place, and that man had stolen it from me. But I still needed to run, and where was a big part of it for me. So I started running in Kohala. I would drive all the way up to Keokea Beach Park, my husband complaining about the gas money before I left. I'd park my car and run along Akone Puli Highway, down to the bottom of Pololu Valley, back up to the top, back along the road, and back to my car. I have to admit, we were talking about this earlier, it felt so great to blaze by the tourists who were like delicately picking their way down the trail and then like trying to get back up, afterwards. I would fly right by them, and it was a total flex. Kohala is a lot like Honaunau, just a very serious vibe. It was about running, yes, but it was also about being in these places. Now, there's a feeling you pick up just by being there. And after my experience on Pu'uhonua Road, I was always on high alert. On one of my runs, I had just made my left onto Akone Puli Highway, coming out of the resident area, and was nearing the first gulch on the way to Pololu Valley, when I saw what was clearly a pair of feet wearing newish running shoes sticking out of a very shallow cave face down in a lava tube that was no taller than 18 inches high. I was totally panicked. I started to approach the body, but couldn't bring myself to do it. So I figured I'd wave a car down for help. I'd like to think I'm a strong, independent, you guys know me, strong, independent woman, right? But I absolutely wanted somebody else to do this. 5 cars drove by me without stopping. Mind you, you can't miss me. I'm standing in the middle of the road, I'm jumping up and down, I'm waving my arms. I am a damsel in very real distress in that moment. They all drove around me. Finally, a lovely older couple pulled over to help. Thank you, lovely older couple. The woman approaches the cave and bends down to examine the body. She yells back, "It's a mannequin!" Some sicko had taken great pains to make this mannequin look like a dead body by putting shoes and shorts on it, and even going so far as to paint little tiny leg hairs on it. Who the hell does this? The couple thought it was hilarious. I didn't think it was funny at all. Every time I took that run, I was carrying Honau, Dana, Sequoia, and that dead body with me. One day I set out from Kona to Kohala later than usual. By the time I was running out of Keokea, the sun was pretty low. It was a really busy afternoon at the beach park. Lots of action, big party in the pavilion, people fishing, kids playing in the grass. I went for my run, going a little faster than usual, knowing that I was running out of light. By the time I got back up to the top of the valley and was making my way back to my car, the sun had set. I wound through the houses off of Okonepoli Highway and past the ironwoods by the ocean and made the horseshoe turn at the top of the beach park. From there, you can see the whole parking area. Everyone was gone. My car was the only car left in the lot, and there were 3 men leaning against it. Their heads were all turned towards me. I thought about running away, but where would I go? I had just run how many miles, including up and down a valley? Was I going to go run off to the cliff? Running wasn't an option. I stood there for a noticeably long time, the 3 men watching me. I resigned myself to my fate and started walking towards them. I thought about Liam and how pissed he was going to be at me. He had kept warning me, and I had kept putting myself in these situations, and now I had to face the consequences. If there was an afterlife and Liam and I met in it, he was almost certainly going to say, "I told you so." I willed myself to walk down that road towards the 3 of them. Their eyes were fixed on me. I was absolutely terrified. As I got a little further down the road, I looked up at the pavilion, hoping maybe there was someone still cleaning up from the party, or maybe somebody still at the beach fishing. There was no one. And the park was now black, with the exception of the light post my car was parked beneath. The 3 men against it, watching me. I walk up to my car. I'm dressed only in running shorts, my sports bra, my heart pounding so hard. I was so scared. One of the men asks me, "Is this your car?" I say yes. He says, "We watched you leave. We noticed you have a flat tire. We waited till you got back to help you fix it." Yeah, Kohala. I thought I was going to burst into tears from relief, from their kindness. I didn't want to insult them, so I kept myself from crying, just like right now. It turns out they were living in a halfway house in the area. They were supposed to have been back before sunset, but they broke curfew to wait for me to get back. My tire was changed within a couple of minutes, and I was safely on my way home. To this day, when I tell this story, the sense of relief, of guilt for condemning them before speaking to them, the fear, all of those things come rushing back, and I feel it all, just as I did 20 years ago. Sometime later, I realized that up until that point, I had been living outside of my community, apart from it. On that day, I learned a powerful lesson about what it means to be a part of my community. How my actions, no matter how big or how small, have a very real impact on how we as a collective feel about living here. My depth of love for this place and my intent to always tread lightly, to do no harm, would not suffice. How I engage with it, how I engage with the people that also call it home, that's what matters. So many of my friends and family are here to support me tonight. And that metric tells me that maybe I'm not doing so bad. In Kohala, those 3 men showed me the power of a grand gesture of aloha. On that day, they rewrote my story. I've been trying to pay them back every day since.